Oh, we're gonna be in the administrative room, conference room? Be in the conference room. I think they said 9 o'clock, right? 9 o'clock.
Start.
You won't be
Okay.
in?
Okay.
Okay. All right.
I now call the Hampton County Council meeting to order for November 3rd, 2025 at 6 o'clock p.m. First, we will have the invocation by Councilman Thompson, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by myself in unison with the audience. So if everyone would please stand if you can.
Let us pray. Father God, we come to give you praise and honor as we come tonight to serve you by serving your people. We ask that you bless this council, bless those constituents that we represent. And then, Lord, we ask that you will bless and guide us in the business of this county. Then, Lord, again, we thank you for how you bless us and kept us. Continue to remember those sick and shut-ins and those who don't know you for the pardon of their sins. But, Lord, we give you thanks and honor for what you've done for us by dying on Calvary's cross and rising on the third day. These blessings now we ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. If you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Our next item on the agenda is item number 3, the approval of the agenda for Hampton County Council, November 3rd, 2025 meeting agenda.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I'd like to make a motion that we amend the agenda to reflect a personnel matter for executive session.
To reflect the personnel matter, is there anything with just personnel matter, another personnel matter than what is already on here?
What's on here is finance department.
Right, but it is
This
a
is not
personnel
finance
matter.
department.
Right, but it is a personnel matter, so any specifics, just personnel matter?
Personnel matter.
Okay, with department, anything like that, just personnel matter? Okay.
Do I need the name of the department?
Well, no, not really, just kind of give more clarity than just say personnel matter, like we have finance department.
Public
but-
Works.
Public Works, okay. All right. A motion has been made. Is there a second? There is no second, so this motion died due to no second.
Okay. So there was, all right, nobody on council thought it was, I can't force you to do anything, but nobody on council thought it was
A
necessary.
motion has been made.
Yes, okay.
A second
Just
has
but
been-
let the record reflect that I did make a motion.
Yes,
to go into
the record will reflect that.
I just want to make sure.
Okay,
No problem.
okay. So if there aren't any other changes to the agenda, do I have a motion that we approve the agenda as it is?
Second.
A motion has been made and has been properly second. Any discussion? If none, all those who approve of the Hampton County Council November 3rd, 2025 meeting agenda, show your approval by raising your right hand. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? We're now on item number 4, approval of minutes. Meeting minutes from October 23rd, 2023, Hampton County Council special meeting. What is the pleasure of council?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from October 23rd, 2025, Hampton County special meeting.
Second.
A motion has been made and has been properly second. Any discussion? If none, all those who are in approval of the meeting minutes from October 23rd, 2025, Hampton County Council special meeting, show your approval by raising your right hand. Anyone opposed?
I oppose. I abstain. I
Okay,
wasn't
and
at that
abstain,
meeting.
and Councilman Williams is abstaining because he wasn't here at that meeting. We're now on item number 5, presentations. We have a presentation from our sheriff, Sheriff Anthony Russell, with finances. Good evening, Sheriff.
Good evening.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of council, clerk of council, county administrator, to our county attorney. This is going to be brief. You all have a packet there and a letter that I submitted to you all. And the reason why I'm doing this, to see if you all would agree, I went to the Palmetto State Bank to try to obtain a credit card for Hampton County Sheriff's Office. And my reason for doing that is to try to streamline the process in my office that would help us throughout the year and throughout emergency purchases that we may have to make. We've been having a lot of delays in the county credit card, and I'm just trying to get around that if I possibly can. It's been causing some issues within my department. I've been moving money from one account, putting in another account, and I just don't know if that's going to look good when the auditor gets around and go to audit my books. And I don't want anything coming back on me as the sheriff. And I want to do this the right way. And with the purchase of this credit card, obtaining this credit card, we will follow the financial policy that you all have in place with the audit every year. This is, we've been having a large increase in transports here in the past couple of months. We've been sending deputies in-state, out-of-state. And we gotta be able to provide them with a credit card while they're on that road, just in case something happens. We can make sure they get back safely back to Hampton County. And that's pretty much my reason for standing up here tonight with you all.
Anyone have any questions for the sheriff?
Sheriff,
Yes, sir.
what did you say the issues with the using the county credit card?
We've been having deputies use their own personal credit cards. I really didn't want to put that out there, but I mean, and it's causing issues. Sometimes it's, 2 or 3 weeks before they can even get their money back on their card, and I just don't think that's a good practice for the county, for them to be using their their personal credit card while they're on official sheriff's office business.
So is the county credit card not available to you?
It's not as of right now. There's been issues with it in the past, and myself and Mr. Yeomans have been communicating back and forth, trying to get those issues resolved. I think it was something dealing with the bank.
Could one of y'all speak to that, Mr. Ewens or Ms. Lewis?
Sure. We made some changes with the credit card policy. We've cleaned up some things, but there were 6 credit cards in the county. We've closed all but 3. So there's 3 credit cards attached to operations for the Sheriff's Department and Fire and EMS, and there's 1 credit card with the administration. It is our direction that those credit cards will be in the custody of the treasurer at all time. We are moving towards folks not carrying around credit cards. We're implementing some approval processes with credit card usage. We've been watching credit card usage for the past 6 to 8 months, and in some cases, credit cards are being used to purchase food in some cases. We just want to be clear on credit card usage. We've been paying attention to rhetoric around the state of findings around credit cards. You got to go back to the forensic audit. We want to make sure we're doing everything we need to do to ensure we are using the credit cards appropriately. So we're pretty close to finishing the policies. We've kind of connected the policies with the travel policy to be more efficient and effective. We did have some folks traveling in spaces where credit cards weren't available, but we're working through those issues, and we are, more than willing to work with the sheriff to address those issues with the current credit cards we have in the county.
So you're saying your goal is that the treasurer would have all 3 credit cards?
Controls.
So that's for elected
that is a means
officials.
of if there's a request to utilize the credit card, that would go through finance, and we would make those cards available to that entity to pick those credit cards up to use. But we are moving in that direction.
So again, you're saying the elected official has to have the approval of the treasurer to use the credit card?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying
You said approval.
anytime there is a request to make a purchase, that should be submitted to the finance office in advance to make sure it matches the budget, to make sure those funds are made available, and it is aligned with what is budgeted for. So we're putting controls in, sign-offs in place to ensure the usage of the credit card is clear across the county.
Now I understand that when it comes to department heads, it falls under the county administrator. But when it comes to elected officials, the state, well, can I finish? The state statute says that the administrator, either the county council, has no budgetary authority. Once the budget is passed, we have no budgetary authority of the day-to-day operation of elected officials' accounts.
That is an interpretation that we're not aware of.
No, that's not an interpretation.
Well,
This is not Attorney General's opinion. This is state law. This is state law. It's not an opinion.
Well,
It's a state law.
this county is reacting to a forensic audit. This county is paying attention to investigations around the state as it relates to credit cards. And I think there was a sheriff in a county in the state of South Carolina who was arrested for inappropriate uses of credit cards. We want to make sure everyone is clear on the guidelines. This is not a means to control or demean any elected official. This is a means to make sure we're all doing what we're supposed to do as it relates to the usage of the credit cards.
State statute says that if an elected official is found negligent in the use of their budget, then that goes higher than county council. That becomes a problem for the elected official as well as state, not county council. I understand everything you just said, but at the same token, we as a county council, and I'm not going to say administrator, the book says the county elected, they are elected officials just like we are elected officials. And I understand what you're saying, but we can't control their spend. Our job right here, the council, once we pass the budget, we appropriate the funds. The execution of that budget is not left up to us. It's left up to the elected officials. Now, control and say that we're watching this and we're investigating this, that's all good. That's all good. But at the end of the day, if there's any investigation about misuse of the credit card or misuse of the budget, that's not on us.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
What are the hardships that you're facing that your debtors kind of have to make these unexpected trips?
All right.
What
Well,
expenses are they coming up against?
well, prime example. Last week we had the carnival in Brunson. We probably anticipate maybe having 2,000 people up there. Well, I'd already had a contract to rent 2 tower lights to put on the backside of that field to light that area up, just to reduce any violence, anyone going out there trying to do any havoc to the citizens there. Well, didn't have a credit card to go pick up the tower lights. That was a part of our plan. So just thank God I got with a contractor here in Hampton County, and I don't want to call his name because he did this for a favor, but he went and rented those lights for me to put in Bronson just to be able to provide a lighted area for the citizens up there to enjoy the carnival. We have certain software in our office that requires a credit card. And when that date hits, when they turn it off, it costs us anywhere between $50 to $100 just to get it reactivated again. And that's been causing us a lot of issues here.
Is your, I mean, I know that event, you had
Yes, sir.
some time for that event coming up, you know that, right?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
How long does it take you to go through the proper procurement process to gain access to the credit card?
Well, we had a credit card, so I didn't think I had to do a procurement on the credit card because I had one, but then when it was time for me to go get the lights, I guess we had issue with the credit card.
So you actually had, the sheriff department had one
Yes,
previously?
sir.
on
Yes,
your
sir.
person,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
but you don't have.
Yes, sir.
Well, to clarify, like I said, we changed the usage amount on each credit card to $2,500 a month, okay? Anything beyond that is going to get declined. That is our effort to better manage the usage of the credit cards and to better budget and control our expenses. But all this could be alleviated through communication and us talking about what is needed ahead of time. Because what we've done, we set it at $2,500. If anything is beyond that, we can call the bank and lift the temporary limit. But that is, again, us reacting to credit cards usage in the county and being good stewards of the citizens' dollars. And that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to balance reacting to a forensic audit that identified negligent credit card use in the county, a history of bad practices. We actually want to get away from credit card usage in the county and address some of these issues by coordinating and structuring how we spend our dollars a little bit more efficiently. So those are all things that we're working through as we change and try to implement change, and that's all in the process of changing. I think Ms. Chanel sent over her last edits today as it relates to the revised usage of the credit card, and the thought was to sit with the sheriff, EMS, and kind of walk with them through those things. But yeah, absolutely, credit card usage is needed in the county. We've also tracked reoccurring expenses in the county as it relates to each of those credit cards. So we have the data to reflect how much it costs for reoccurring expenses to occur, and we don't want to, deter those reoccurring expenses from not happening. But we've done our due diligence to kind of make this a number that fits for the county, that makes sense. But we hope to work with the sheriff, EMS, and all other credit card holders to make this a better process for the county. But yeah.
I want to go back to the budget, Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
And as this, what entities and what businesses are we dealing with that won't accept our purchase orders?
Pretty much in my department, no one. And I'm being open and honest.
Nobody won't accept purchase
I
orders from
cannot
the
find
county?
a vendor,
No vendor?
no vendor that
We
will
don't need no
accept
vendor
a
for those
PO
kind of
number from the sheriff's office. So without the credit card, without having
understand that.
access to the credit card, a lot of my business at the sheriff's office will crumble.
So you telling me that the vendors in this country won't accept a valid purchase order from the county?
Yes, sir, that's what I'm telling you.
Questions?
I mean, if you're a bona fide entity, government agency, most people will take a purchase order.
I think they evaluating the history. And
But that's what we're trying to avoid,
Yes.
is get away from that.
Yes.
To make sure that we are able to
if they haven't been paid in the past, they're not gonna give us they're not gonna allow anything to come in my office without a credit card purchase, and I'm just keeping it real. They're not gonna do that. But there's a lot of things that I do from the law enforcement side that requires a credit card. Sometimes I may not have time to do a procurement process to come up here before you all at a last minute and try to get something done. Just look at the numbers in this community and look at what's going on surrounding us. My job is to protect the citizens of this county.
Question?
Councilman Jinks.
Sheriff, I was right where you were, working 18 years. I do understand that you have day-to-day needs that can come up in a split second. So that makes me ask you, I know you can't give me an exact number of what you think you would need every day on a credit card bill, but give me a roundabout figure. What would help you at the sheriff's office if you had access to a credit card on a day-to-day basis? Not for travel, not for anything else, just your use at the credit card to be able to function like you need to properly.
Me personally, I think we would need something with at least a $5,000 credit limit. Not saying that we spend that a month, not saying that we spend that on a daily basis, but at any given time, anything can happen in this county. We got to be able to keep up and not sit here and beg and plead with these vendors and ask them to accept POs. They're not going to accept POs. That's just not going to happen.
I know we were talking about sheriff, but since it came up about EMS, so if EMS, just use EMS as an example, they have an emergency all the time. So if they don't have a credit card in their possession, you mean they got to go through this procurement to go through this process to get a credit card? I'm trying to understand that.
Well, most vendors take
I'm not talking about
purchase
vendor, no. I say if EMS has an emergency.
name, what kind of emergency?
Oh, no, I don't have to name emergencies
Oh, okay.
now.
I'm just
Yeah, you can
curious.
ask them that. I don't have to name him, but now, we ain't gonna get there. I ain't gonna have to name none.
Who
Any
you
one of
asking?
them, I said EMS should have emergency. And they don't have a credit card in their possession, if something calls for a credit card. They might give an example, I can't. I'm just asking a question. If they don't have a credit card in their possession, what if they use their personal funds?
Who you asking that question?
No,
Anybody here from EMS?
finance. Could y'all, Mr. Lawson or Miss me, but can one of y'all speak to what I just asked?
Yes, sir. Predominantly what we would run into is if we had a roadside emergency at night with an ambulance that had to be towed, picked up, taken to a drop-off destination. Occasionally when we have to call in mutual aid services from other counties and that sort of thing, when we have an incident or a long-standing incident, we are put in a position as the host county where we are expected out of courtesy to be able to feed and give the folks that come from the other counties, something to drink, something to eat, if we on a 6-hour, 8-hour, 10-hour scene. We do have some reoccurring subscriptions that Mr. Yeoman's referenced a few minutes ago that they had been tracking as far as things that were tied to the cards for renewal. But I don't want to put words in the sheriff's mouth, but his agency and mine run 24/7, 365. Businesses are closed. Unfortunately, it has gotten to a point with a lot of vendors, they'd be happy to do for the county, but part of the problem is you can't get a PO issued at 1 a.m. You're not going to go through the normal purchasing process at 1 o'clock in the morning. Secondly, again, a lot of the vendors that we're dealing with, I know you might find that shocking, Mr. Thompson, but a lot of the vendors that we're dealing with, if we can't provide them with a payment source at the time of service, especially after hours, weekends or holidays, they're not interested in giving any credit to the council or to county, for us to get this kind of stuff done. If you blow 2 tires on the back of the ambulance on I-95 going to Waldeboro, nobody's coming out to give you roadside assistance without either something previously established with them as a vendor and they're guaranteed their payment, or you're presenting a credit card at the time of service. Those are primarily the things that we would run into after hours. Otherwise, we carry anything else through the normal submission process for purchasing. We have had some difficulty with getting PO requests processed in a timely fashion. I think that's that may be part of the delay and the holdup, but you gotta understand that, and Sheriff, I can't speak for you, but once a PO is issued and we call the vendor to provide the PO, then there's additional conversation that occurs, when, where, how, and all these other questions that occur with these vendors. So, unfortunately, they're not willing, a lot of them aren't willing to honor the PO that we're providing.
Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead, Councilman Jinks.
like Mr. Thompson said, that this is something we inherited. We didn't just create. as far as these bills not being paid on time, and the vendors are not satisfied with the way they've been paid.
That's correct.
Point blank. This is not something that just occurred. It's been here for a while.
Yes.
But, on the other hand, I believe, gentlemen, at this podium, we probably need to sit down and discuss, come to a common consensus that emergency services are out here when we are not. And if you never work with them, pretty hard to know what they go through in the middle of the night when they need a couple dollars. We probably need to sit down and figure out a way that they can have access to a credit card at all times, come to a consensus on the amount, whatever we need to do. But I think I do agree with them needing access to some type of funds at all times without, because Alice is not there after 5. I respect the measures that are being put in place. But at the same time, if something slips through the crack at 6:30, somebody got a problem.
And again, it's just this administration finding this balance.
Yes, sir.
In my time since I've been here, how many times have you needed a credit card after hours? It'll be 2 years in January.
3 times.
3 times. 3 times in 2 years. So it's a rarity.
Yes, sir.
I agree with you, Sheriff. Fire and EMS should have a credit card at all times. Absolutely. And that's where we're going.
Right.
But we're trying to set the table where everybody understands.
Understand that.
Change is hard, and that's where we're at. But we have no interest in deterring the sheriff and fire and EMS from doing their jobs, because what they do for the county is absolutely necessary. You know, we had an issue a couple weeks ago with credit card usage, and the finance department didn't know folks were on travel.
Mm-hmm.
So the credit card bill wasn't paid.
Right.
So people were at hotels trying to check in and were not able to check in. I haven't seen a travel form in the past 6 months. And so that process requires a sign off with finance to make sure there's room on a credit card in preparation of folks being able to check in at a hotel. County employees should not have to have that happen when they're traveling, but this is our effort to address some of the issues that we've seen, and this is a level set. It may be tight, but we will, address it as it fits the county's needs. But I totally agree and understand.
When you just say that some of the employees, the credit card did not work when they were at conference or whatever, so where was the breakdown there?
Well, traditionally, I would receive a travel request form. That form would have pre-authorization for folks to travel. That is cross-checked with budget and all that good stuff, and to make sure folks, have what they need to travel. Either it's checked, paid in advance, but in some cases, it's not communicated. I can't tell you why, but there was a couple scenarios where folks tried to check in at a hotel and were not able to check in because the credit card didn't have the room to absorb $10,000 worth of hotel expenses.
So that's a reflection on the finance department.
Well, it's a reflection on the lack of communication throughout the county that we're trying to address. It's not. I'm not going to travel with a county credit card to Columbia or somewhere to check in a hotel before I talk to my finance team and I got everything in line and make sure I'm good to go.
Okay.
So it's about communication
And following the process.
and we're trying to
Okay.
communicate and be all on the same page.
Okay, so if that county employee done that whole process, they check with finance, and I'm sure the average county employee that goes on a trip, I'm sure they have gone through the process before they would even go to Myrtle Beach or wherever. And I'm sure they're thinking when they get there, all this been taken care of on the county end. It's bad if they get there and then find this out once they get there. When you say there's a lack of communication, if that county employee has done their part prior to leaving for this trip, how is it a lack of communication on their part when they get there and running into these problems? They're
Again,
leaving thinking that this is all taken care of.
I repeat, There is a pre-authorization signature on the credit card form, on the travel form. In some cases, those forms were not fully executed and signed as it relates to everyone being signed. That is a carbon copy, I mean there's 3 copies, and you as a submitter for travel, you should get a copy that that thing has been executed, or your department head should get that as it been executed. And there have been scenarios where that stuff wasn't communicated all the way through to finance, and I can't tell you why, but it's things like that we're working through to make sure folks have what they need when they're traveling, and again, the credit card usage properly.
Let me put some in the records. I was sworn in January 3rd of 2003. I went to my first class in June. I was booked for this class 3 months prior to. When I got to Columbia to check in the hotel, I had to wait on Miss Allen to get to me to check me in. This process has not just started this way. It's been bad years ago. 2 months after you got here in 2004. You remember having to move me again at a class? You yourself had to check me in at a different hotel than I was booked because the credit card wasn't right.
I think I used my personal credit card to put it on hold.
This process has been messed up for a long time.
Ms. Jane, can I ask you one question?
Once again, I agree with giving you guys some type of funding to be able to operate at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Sounds like we got a personnel problem. And people don't understand, but the protocols are to get things done, and that had to stop.
What are you saying, don't understand? Is it a problem with the personnel department? All right, but you just made a statement and you say it sounds,
I'm gonna
you
add
sound,
to
you
it.
blaming,
I'm not saying I'm blaming the
Well,
employee.
that's what
I'm
he just
blaming the
insinuated.
process. Something is going wrong. So there's a breakdown somewhere. If they supposed to have a travel voucher signed, and it's 3 copies, then somebody needs to. You should have your copy in your hand before you go to court. If you don't, then you need to call somebody. Now, who you need to call, I'm not sure who's in between that process, but somebody needs to say to you, if I'm traveling, then I want to know, why don't I have my form signed? And why would I travel before I have it signed? You should.
okay.
I've never heard of this type of, there's a breakdown somewhere in communication. There's a breakdown in somebody not doing what they're supposed to do.
I agree with
Is
that.
that
I
plain and
agree with that part.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
plain and
somebody
simple.
definitely
Now, who
not.
it is, I don't know. I'd have to go through the whole process. I'd be glad to walk through it. See.
And back to Councilman Jenks, and we're gonna move on. When you made the statement about this being occurred and this being occurred, if and I'm just talking, Councilman Jenks, you got a leak at your house. Somebody comes to fix your leak. You don't get the plumber telling you this been reoccurring before I got here. If the plumber comes, you expect the plumber to fix the leak. So all I'm is a lot of it been like this. We're not here to reflect on everything that's been. We make it better. So when we keep talking about, it's almost like we're trying to pass the buck to the past. We're not here to keep passing the buck. We're supposed to be here, because I've been here 11 months now. And all I've been hearing is we're going to get here. At some point, we need to arrive. And I'm done with that.
With all due respect to you, Mr. Love, just to clarify, you got me wrong when you thinking when you thinking I'm passing the buck. I'm not saying that. I am trying to paint the picture that we are trying to improve this process. It may be taking longer than it should, or longer than anyone expect. But there's measures in place to improve the process so this doesn't happen.
Okay.
But I just want you to know that it happened to me more than once.
Okay, sorry if I misunderstood you. Sorry. I apologize. Never too big to say that. I'm sorry.
Okay, I have a question to our county administrator, Mr. Humans. Have any training been done dealing with credit cards or any of these procedures with department heads, elected officials, since you've been on board?
So what we did about a month ago, we looked at the travel policy and we looked at the credit card policy, and they were contradictory in a sense. They didn't talk to each other. So we've made it into one fluid process that has some refresh pre-approval elements to it. So the goal is to train typical credit card users in the county. And like I said, we got some edits back today, and yes, we intend to train folks on the credit card users in the county and the proper means to get a pre-approval when traveling for training and such.
Well, I agree, Mr. Chairman. I agree we need to give the sheriff and the people that deal with these workers on file some relief. But I think, you know, I'd like to see the two of you all work that out and let us use the same credit cards that we already have in place. And if you, and whatever way you and the administrator work through it, and as long as it falls within the proper procurement procedures and like you said in your letter, and if we continue to follow the process that was recommended through our auditors, to make sure that we're in compliance with everything, I don't have a problem with it. Because I understand, I've been in that position before.
Yes, sir. Well, you know, tonight was just to put y'all on notice that what I'm gonna do, I am gonna apply for the card. That's my purpose of standing up here. I didn't want to do anything behind your back because we got to be able to operate in Hampton County. And the way things are going right now it's embarrassing. And I will give you a list of vendors that you're welcome to call and ask why they would not accept appeal from Hampton County. That's beyond my control.
Can you please provide that list?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Now, let them know who they are.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to have a personal copy.
I'll give you a copy. Yes, sir.
I think
Any other
that the gist in this whole thing is with the county, with the sheriff, is that we have to have a check and balance system in place. We have to have a check and balance system in place. Because without a check and balance
If
system,
someone misused a credit card,
Right.
put them in jail.
that's right. Without a
And that
check,
goes to all of us in here.
right. Without a check and balance system, it becomes chaotic.
I agree.
And I think that's one thing the county is trying to make sure it implements a better check and balance system because it has been weak in the past, very weak.
But everything that you all are talking about with this travel voucher, we had a grant administrator submitted a travel voucher 30 days prior to the SRO, the victim advocate going to Myrtle Beach, got to Myrtle Beach, and the credit card still declined. And right now, she has not received her money, and it's been over, 45 days? A month.
Can someone answer that for me? Why not?
So, listen, thank y'all.
Okay. Thank you, Sheriff. We're now on item number.
That's the first
Oh,
time.
I'm sorry.
That's the first time hearing of a travel voucher not being redeemed in over 30 days.
Any other questions from council before we move on?
Can I get a response when it's taken care of? No, that's not why I asked the question.
These are the facts.
That's not why I asked the
And
question.
these are the questions that my employees ask me every day. Why haven't they been paid?
I don't even need to hear from her.
Okay.
That's not why I asked the question.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Any other comments from council?
You did say you're gonna apply for the card?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay. Any other comments? If none, we will move to item number 6 on public hearing. 6.1, we have a public hearing to amend the fiscal year 2026 budget to reflect the first quarter budget change. Is there anybody want to speak on that?
Mr. English just
Before.
walked out, I believe.
Anyone want to speak on that?
Good evening.
Good evening.
At the last meeting, we discussed the first quarter review and the revisions that we wanted to make within the existing budget. The overall budget number will not change. There's just been some realignments within department line items where we could, and we came to council for the realignment items that we had to cross departments. Where that is, you'll see that 115,000 came from council's budget, and the contingency line item that went to the detention center. And that's because they needed additional funding for what we've come to you before about making the employees whole. The other change is the TAN, the 1.8 million, which was put in as revenue, that was taken out. You'll see a change in the local option sales tax, the two line items you'll see, and that's due to enhanced collections, and then also fines and fees that include fee in lieu. That is a wash, so 1.8 million was taken out of the TAN, and 1.8 million collectively between those three line items were put back in. Also, I want to make a clarification about a statement I made when it comes to the clerk of court's office, that 11,500 for the register of deeds. There is not a register of deeds. The clarification is there is a deed clerk that has been hired, a part-time deed clerk. That supplement was for the register of deeds. We don't have anyone in that position. Since there's a clerk, they're not entitled to that supplement.
I stand corrected, as clerk of court and register of deeds, we're not separated.
Gotcha.
So, I do have a register of deeds clerk, but I'm not separated as a clerk to register, we're not.
Gotcha.
There's only maybe about 6 counties that still come out.
Okay, and because you're combined, that's why you don't have the
So,
supplement.
correct.
Okay. So, once again, that supplement is not needed. Clerk of court says she's combined with that position, she does both, and we have a deed clerk. Are there any questions?
You don't mind? Chair.
Okay. Well, actually, she was there to explain to us, really to the audience, what this
Okay, I'll
particular
ask mine when it comes
public
to-
hearing is.
Got-
So
okay.
once she has finished,
Yes, sir.
then I will now open the floor for the public hearing for the public
Yes,
to
sir.
comment. But that was for her to just bring us up to date and also to inform the public if they have any comments that they want to make afterwards.
Right, so none of the numbers that I presented last time, at the last meeting have changed.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I now open the floor for public hearing to amend the fiscal year 2026 budget to reflect the first quarter budget change from the public. Yes.
Excuse me, my name is Mary Benton, and I'm from Runson. I have 4 questions, and just for clarification. I think at the last meeting, one of them was that the expected increase in building permits fees was about 300+%. My first question, is this from one project, or is this from individuals that go up to the building permit office and ask for permits? And if it is for individuals, for instance, if I was asking for a building permit and the increase was going to be 300% more, does that require council approval? Or is your approval through this process your approval, if that makes any sense? And in other words, what I'm asking, do you have to make a separate approval of that 300+% increase in building permits? My second question, in layman's terms, where will that 1.8 million be? You said you're taking it out of the budget, but you still owe it. So Where on the budget, which line item would we see that on? My next question is, in layman's terms, I would like someone to explain the property fund 1% sales tax and the revenue fund 1% sales tax. I've Googled it, and it's above my comprehension. So I'd like for someone to tell me, what that means in layman's terms. And then my last question is, once you amend this budget, where will it be? The current budget is embedded in some council meeting minutes. It's very difficult to find, for me anyway. Maybe it is out there somewhere. So those are my questions and my concerns.
Okay.
If you're
can
increasing
answer
the
that.
building permits, do you have to vote for that, or does this financial team just decides
I can answer the last
it's gonna be
question.
300% more? And is that one project, or are we expecting some new industry, or is that for individuals who apply for
budget-
building permits?
The budget is in a booklet that was handed out.
That's not much of a budget, excuse me, but it's not. That's extrapolated from a bunch of stuff that's already online. The budget that gives the department budgets, and then the revenue that's expected, it's embedded, I believe, in maybe June, or maybe, it had to be prior to the last of July in the council meeting minutes. Now, the previous year, yes, in the little graph form, it is easy to find online. And maybe it's just me, I'm just speaking for myself. And I'd like to know where, if you're taking this 1.8 million, I think the statement was made that the interest would be carried on the books. Well, where in the heck's the rest of it? Where will we find that?
Okay. Mr. Humans and Ms. Lewis, do you want to address the questions that was asked by Mrs. Bitten?
Okay, so first thing about the 1.8 million. Well, I said 1.8 million goes out, but also that it comes back in. So it's an exchange, it's really a wash. Now, if we're looking at the TAN coming out, and that's where that 1.88 million line item was, the property taxes, the 1% property tax, and there's two sections, that due to enhanced collections of the last year, of the prior year's revenue, we have enhanced collections, and that makes up the 1,040,000. Now, as far as the increase in fines and fees, which includes fee in lieu of tax, so for 459,701, yes, there was an increase in revenue, and that's based off of all last year's revenues, but we also have enhanced collections. So now, once again, if we continue and we go through this year and we find out that anything does not change or does change, we can also come back to council and say, hey, we're making an adjustment. But we are going off of actual numbers of actual collections. Now, when it comes to the property tax, which is the local option sales tax, and this is what, I'm sorry, what's your name? Ms. Benton was talking about. So there are two separate line items, and lost is local options sales tax. So you receive sales tax revenue based on two things, your population and the location of the sales. Now, the reason why you have two line items, the line item on the top that says property tax is your property tax credit. Your second line item is the revenue. And the reason why it's split, 29% is your revenue, 71% is your property tax credit. Now, the reason why that is the local option sales tax. The property tax credit is the credit that you get back, the discount on your property tax. law, 71% of that local option sales tax must go to the taxpayers for property tax relief. That's why you see a negative on your property tax bill, that minus number, that is that 71%. What that is of that 71%, you take that number, you take your total assessed property values, you divide that in by that number, that top number, it's your denominator, your numerator, is the assessed values of the assessed property, excuse me, come out a little dry. The assessed property value, the total assessed property values gives your local option sales tax credit number. Our wonderful auditor, who's been a pleasure to work with, applies that to your property tax bill. That's when you see the reduction on your property tax bill. And if for any reason, let's say that we did not project enough, and that number is higher, by law, we still must give that to you. What we do is that number, if it's over, let's say we collected $100,000 over that number, we must take that number and apply it to next year's so that your property tax credit will be higher next year because we must do at least 71%. So I met with the auditor, I met with the treasurer, we got together, we understand that if, once the number is budgeted, is taken, that money goes into a pot, and that goes for the taxpayers for the next year, then it's applied, and whatever the 71% is, that's added on to and put in the new year's calculation for the new value. So you get that money back, that's what that top number is, bottom number is the revenue that the county or the municipality. So I hope that helps.
Okay.
Um,
Thank,
Was there any additional
Okay.
explanation for that?
I think you,
I asked about the increase in the building permit fees. Does that require council approval, or did the financial team just decide that? And it's just a question, I don't know.
And that's when I said that was based on revenue collections. And if during the year that we see that this number needs to change, we can make an adjustment, but that's based on actual collections.
okay. And,
And as well as the local options property sales tax is based on actual collections.
okay. I think Ms. Ben, something else?
I understood what she was talking about, that 1% sales refund in time to our property taxes. My statement is, it's not a question, but if that was available when the budget was established prior to the first of the fiscal year, why wasn't it applied then? That does not give me a good confidence in whoever is in charge of our taxpayers' money. If they did not know that that was available and these other funds that she's talking about, so that it would make up that 1.8, you would never had to borrow that money and never have to pay the interest, which is an additional cost to taxpayers. We've got to be more conscientious of the debtor stewards of the taxpayer money. Somebody got to step up.
Okay.
Like,
You want to comment?
I was gonna ask you, go ahead, and can you speak to the 1.8 that she'll understand why we have to do that?
I understand.
Well,
Oh,
well,
But my question is, if these things were available and you just don't poof and they come out of the air, then I don't know.
Let me,
Ms. Benton, a lot of that deals with collection of property tax.
I understand that,
Oh, okay. Well, if we don't collect the property tax,
but we first got to get our tax notices to pay those property taxes. They have not been delivered, and I think
Can I,
okay.
can I have Ms., can I add Ms. Gasson?
you got a
ask
question?
some
Yeah,
additional
Ms.
context?
Gaskin, Ms. Gaskin.
Additional context to Mrs. Chanel's explanation as well.
Sure, okay.
well, there,
Yeah, Ms. Gaskin.
yes, I will say this also. As of July 1st, We have a new treasurer that also helps with enhanced collections. And then part of the additional funds came in as a supplement that came in June of 2025. We also have your lost property tax credit. It's something that is on the bill every tax year. That's not something that just happened now. That happens every year.
Good evening, council,
Good evening, Mrs.
Hampton
Gasson.
County stakeholders. I want to explain how the budget estimates were derived during the April to June 2025 timeframe. The estimates were derived by looking at a 4-year average of the payments for each revenue category that Hampton County actually has. So what that meant was that the average was taken and then the average was applied to each revenue category. And regarding having the information available and why it wasn't used initially, it was not available. When the estimate was produced, $1.8 million was the amount that Hampton County believed it needed to borrow in order to get through the dry period, so that will become the 10. So when collections were reviewed during the July-August timeframe, there was better information that was available in every revenue category about the amount of money that Hampton County is expected to receive. So that means that Hampton County was able to revise the revenue estimates and replace the TAN estimate of $1.8 million with actual revenue in other categories. This moves Hampton County out of the posture of funding its debt and paying for its bills with its debt and building that debt into its overall budget. So I think there's a misunderstanding about what the $1.8 million replacement actually means and why there was no corresponding expense reduction, because the budget has got to balance, the revenue's got to equal the expense. So normally when you make some kind of a revenue adjustment, a downward adjustment, you have to reduce the expenses in the same direction. The finance team worked diligently to make sure that there would be no expense reduction, because that would have adversely affected EMS and the sheriff's office, because those offices benefited from the significant budget increase from 2025 to 2026. So what that meant was that when we found the $1.8 million revenue replacement, there was no need to look at any of the expenses at all. So we're replacing the TAN by zeroing it out altogether, and we found other revenue streams based on enhanced collections. When I say enhanced collections, the treasurer's office is working now to help us match revenue in the correct period, matching in the period in which it was actually earned instead of the period in which we actually recorded it, and that's a significant difference. That has allowed us to do better forward projections regarding when we can receive revenue and what we will actually have to work with. And I want to explain also about the building permits. When the estimate was done, $98,501 was the amount that the building department felt comfortable advancing as the revenue amount. There was an outlier regarding the collections that year, and that was over $300,000 for one particular project. I think there's a misunderstanding about what that 300% increase means. It doesn't mean that the fee itself for permits is going up. It means that we believe we're going to collect 300% more than we estimated at $98,501. So there is no finance department input that's needed in order to actually propose this 300% increase, because the fee for permits itself is not changing. It's just the amount we expect to receive based on the enhanced collections through the rest of the year.
Okay. Okay.
And even though, and Ms. Benton referenced the spreadsheets that were done last year and posted online, all of those same spreadsheets were done in fiscal 2026, and they're in the budget book. In the front of the book, attachment A will have all of it's about 52 different sheets that has the summary expense worksheet, and then all of the individual departmental worksheets after it, and then there's a 2-pager exhibit B that has the revenue. And we're working now to try to amend that tonight by making these adjustments based on the trends that we're seeing with the collections and the revenue.
So are you gonna amend the budget book every time you amend the budget here?
No, we're not, no ma'am. No ma'am, we're not amending the budget book at all, because this is the first quarter and we have 3 more quarters worth of reviews to do. So what'll happen is that if these changes are approved, what will happen is that I will go into the computer system and I'll make all the updates there so departments can continue to operate. but the budget book itself won't change, but there'll be an amendment probably posted on the website that'll show what all the changes actually are, and you can track from the original budget to the first quarter changes, and then when, in January, when we do this again, the second quarter changes, and then in April, when we do it again, the third quarter changes. Once the changes are approved by the council, the changes will be posted on the website. But it's an easy audit trail from the originally approved budget to the changes that are being made now. It'll be posted on the website. I can give you my book if you need it, and I can get another one tomorrow if you need to have that. I'll do that.
I can also, I have your email. I can email you, I'll email you this evening as well.
I understand that, but there's just a certain time of the year that they just don't come out in July. You know, I mean, we just have to wait until. But the big thing that they brought to light tonight, Mrs. Benson, is that we have better record keeping on the collection, and that makes a big difference when it comes down to how you spend and pay and how you budget. So all of this, it has to coordinate together. And if it does, it makes everything much simpler, and it's an easier process, and it helps everybody. So give us a little time. I've been asking you to do that. And you have. You've been patient, but I understand you come back with your other questions, and you should. But we're getting there from that standpoint. We want to make sure that that you're clear and that you understand. You have to understand that you desire to have in order to understand this.
And one more point, the public needs to understand that the current treasurer is doing a fantastic job of the reconciliation process. Yeah. So we're learning a lot of things that we didn't have the information before, but hats off to the new treasurer and all the work that she's doing to help us speed up the reconciliation process. And the audit is already in process, and we're scheduled to complete the current year's audit end of November. So, we are making progress in a lot of spaces in finance, and we're learning as we go because there is a lot of pieces we need to unpack and correct.
Ms. Benton, also do know that I asked Mr. Yeoman several times, when he put out information to the public, please explain that information in layman terms and not administrative terms so we all can understand. All right.
Okay, anyone else from the public that has a comment for the public hearing? If not, I now close the public hearing to amend the fiscal year 2026 budget to reflect the first quarter budget change. We're now on item number 7, public comments. I want to reinstate that you have 5 minutes for individual maximum for your public comments. Any public comments?
Yes. Judge Shannon Parker, mental health.
Good evening, council, administration, citizens. I did put mental health down, but I do want to address one quick thing. I saw Sheriff up here, and while his office is a whole lot bigger than my office, I too have had that idea. And Administrator Yeomans, you had brought to us when you first came here, if you bring us a problem, bring a solution. And I did that, but I've yet to hear back since September about my solution on doing just that, because I have missed out on trainings, hotel rooms, things like that, because while we do a lot of training and it's good, I can speak for a lot of us that that it's not just us, that we do get our stuff in months at a time, but a lot of things change in this county here lately. And we're sending something to one email address, and then it's going to change, and we have to send it to another. So I'm always asking Ms. Chanel and those, am I sending it to the right person, and am I getting it to the right person, just so that we know who we're supposed to get it to. So I would, just say that it's not just us. It's a lot of change in this county, and we're trying our best. But I do invite you all, and I think anybody here, elected official or department head, will invite all of you to our offices at any time to see what we need as an emergency, what it is that we need on any time basis or anything like that, how our offices are ran. Not just us coming before you telling you, but we would love for you to come in and see it firsthand sometimes. But back to what I was putting on the agenda, on public comments, mental health. I have started a mental health roundtable, and that meets once a month. A lot of our agencies, law enforcement, we've had some hospitals, New Life, mental health. We're trying to come together as one to fight mental health and drug dependency, chemical dependency in the county. So I just want to invite you all, if anyone wants to take time out and come to one of the meetings. Our next meeting is November 21st at 2 o'clock. We meet at the conference room in the courthouse upstairs. We can't solve everything in this community, but if we work together, we can come up with a solution that can maybe begin to solve it. And we have a lot of mental health. My office works with mental health and chemical dependency. I don't just do probate. A lot of our other agencies work close with them. And I want to be all on one page on how it runs, how we do detention orders, how we, who deals with what with mental health and chemical dependency. And I think that starts with our agencies in-house. So I do invite anyone, any citizen that would like to come and join in, I invite y'all. So that's November 21st at 2 o'clock. And I think December, is it 15th? I think it's December 15th at 2 o'clock are the next two meeting dates. So thank you.
Okay. That's it. Okay.
Is that part of the solicitors program too, that we work with the opioid?
No, sir, it is not. That is separate.
That's separate, okay.
Yes, sir.
We're now on item number 8. You said that concludes the public comments? Okay. We're now on item number 8, ordinances. 8.1, third reading of ordinance. This is the third reading of an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2026 budget to reflect the first quarter budget changes. Council, we have heard comments from the public hearing, and we have, and this is the third reading that we're now going to vote on after we've had the public hearing. So what's the pleasure of council?
Mick, can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
When we, I realize this is the first quarter budget changes. When we passed this budget, I think it was July 1st, we had a question, we went back and forth about filling vacancies. And we voted that when we passed the budget, vacancies in every department could be filled, not new positions, but vacancies. And it's been brought to my attention that those vacancies have been put on hold due to a new hiring process. And as a member of council, I had no idea that we were going to a new hiring process, which is a matter of policy and procedure. So could somebody explain to me where did this new hiring process come from?
Well, first of all, it's my understanding that once a position has been established, that the money is there for that position, for vacancy. So it's up to the administrator, if it's under his supervision, to seek out anyone who's meet the qualification for that vacancy. So Now, about the new hiring, I'll have to let him speak
Can I
on
speak to
that.
that, sir? So, you know, we had some resignations in the county. We did have some HR resignations. In the county, we have folks carry multiple hats, a lot of responsibilities. We didn't have HR cross-trained. The priority for the county is to make sure we meet payroll. That has been the priority. So in the meantime, between time, to make sure we are working through meeting payroll, we put the hiring process on hold to make sure we got everything, got our ducks in a row. But as of last week, there was a slight training on HR to set the expectation. Again, we do not have a HR lead. We have some folks helping us out with some things, but we're just cleaning some things up. But folks are going through the process of onboarding and making those offers to those applicants that are interested in working in the county.
So again,
But it is not directly related to any freeze. It's related to the county reacting to not having an HR person, right? So you got to give us some time to make some changes. We want to make sure we hire the right way. Background checks are done. All those things are done. So until we had fully focused on that stuff, yes, we did pause hiring in the county.
So back to my question, is there a new hiring process that's being put in place? I understand it's been put on hold.
There was a training, and there were some things that were corrected, that were addressed in our current hiring process to refresh what we're doing. So yes, there are some steps that we took to make some adjustments. And I'll give you an example. We are outsourcing drug testing, right? You know, it is our best practices that we don't think other county employees should be performing drug testing for incoming employees. That should be done by a third party. Okay. Small changes like that, and a few other things, are some of the things that we addressed. But again, just refreshing it, cleaning it up, and those are some of the things that we've been working through.
So that's a matter of policy and procedures. So anytime that we're changing policy and procedures, that should be approved by council. I hear you say we're cleaning it up, but sounds like to me that's a different process of how we're doing it. And especially when it comes to the hiring process for elected officials. Elected officials do not fall under the same standards for department heads when it comes to how they hire, their hiring process. So if anything is going to change, the hiring process is in our handbook. So if changes are going to be made, it need to be reflected in the employee's handbook, which goes back to the county council who puts their handbook in place. So these changes are being made, are in the process of being made, and council has no knowledge of it. I understand why you're doing it, and I'm not in a disagreement with why you're doing it, but it should be brought to council.
Another
for
change,
approval.
another change we're implementing is digital time check-in and time submission in the county. No more paperwork, no more paper submissions. What we found is that there's some questions around time submission and payroll check-in. So that's another thing that we're working on implementing in the county, which is going to address some issues that were highlighted in this process.
Okay. Are all those changes going to be in the new? Are all those changes going to be updated in the employee's handbook?
They will be updated as they need to be updated.
Now, that's why I say that if it's a reflection in the employee's handbook, that handbook is put in place by council. So it needs to be approved by council. And that's what, and that, when I'm speaking, I'm referring to 3 different sources. South Carolina Code of Law for county government, Home Rule Handbook for county government, and I'm referring to our council rules and procedures. And when it comes to the county rule and procedures that were put in place, employee handbook, any of this stuff should be approved by council. I understand where you're going with this, but it should be a conversation. No meeting should be held to make changes to our personnel policies without it being approved by council. The administrator's job, not just Mr. Humans, the administrator's job is to execute the plan that was put in place by council, not to create the plan and execute it.
Let me ask you this here, Mr. Humans. The vacancies that we do have that are out there, because there's nobody right now who meet the criteria to fill them at this particular time. Am I correct?
There's a vacancy that we haven't hired. I would assume that someone hasn't applied and met the qualifications.
Which means that that position, that vacancy, the money is there for that position. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, which means that even though nobody is in there, that money is still there for that position. Because by law, we have to have that.
Yeah, those dollars are there. I
We
think
cannot have a position without monies for that position.
I think his question is more of a technical change as it relates to processes
Exactly.
which we are cleaning up that should have been cleaned up that we're doing. So we can absolutely do a better job of informing council of changes proposed. But again, if folks want to hire, we have to get in front of county council a couple more times to get that stuff done. But folks need to hire and want to get this stuff done. But we waited to identify someone to help us on the HR side to move things forward. But
So I guess I'm somewhat not quite clear. What is the hiring procedure? Because if it's all about hiring, is there any change in how we hire people?
well, I'll give you an example. If there's a position that's posted, a candidate applies, they get interviewed, they submit that packet to HR saying, hey, we would like to move forward with this person, and there's a packet that person has to fill out, and some of that is, drug testing and a lot of these background checks, right? And so like I gave an example earlier, county employee should not be drug testing other county employees.
Sure,
So we looked at service providers that we can send that out to a third party. That process takes some time, but that's an example of something changed. Maybe one component changed, and I think there's a discussion that I need to have with the sheriff and a few other elected officials about some of the questions that they had at the HR training on last week.
Okay, so drug testing is not, presently, we do not have a drug testing policy in place with the county?
Well, it was in play, but normally drug testing would go through emergency management services.
Right, okay.
It is this administration to want to send that out to a third-party vendor to have someone do that off-site versus a county employee. That's an example.
Again, let me make it clear. I'm not saying that I'm in disagreement with changes that have been made. I'm referring to the protocol, that if these changes are going to be made, county council should approve these changes. I know it's to improve what we're doing, but at the same time, we have to give an account. As a county council, we have to give an account for these changes.
And that falls in line, as you just stated, because in this handbook, it states that one of the council's responsibility is to review all ordinances that we have had in the past.
Yes, sir.
And see if they're up to date. And if not, then we need to either decide whether or not we're going to continue with that particular ordinance or it become obsolete and we need to delete it. And that's one thing we have not been doing as a council since I've been on council is looking at past ordinances that's been on the book for over 50 years that is still in existence. So we got our work cut out for us.
We do, but again, it goes back to what I've stated 10 times. If this is going to be done, you just said it yourself.
Yes.
It needs to be done by council.
Yeah, I agree.
So how can we do it if we're not aware of the changes?
Right, but also I'm reminding council of our other duties with other ordinances that we are responsible for to review, which we have not been doing. Because you're talking about ordinances that have been on the books for over 50 years, and not once have we even reviewed any of those.
With the one, that's what we talk.
Sure, exactly. I mean, but I'm just,
yeah.
but I'm just adding on to that.
Yes, sir.
Let's not forget our other duties also.
I never do.
Councilman Thompson, did you have
Well,
something?
I'll just go, my concern would be is whether or not there's been any harm done to anyone who may have applied for a position. As if they had qualifications or they not able to be carried through the process of employment. Has anyone, I don't know, Councilman Love knows about something like that, or do you all know of anyone who has had a complaint
You're missing it, Mr.
that has
Thompson.
applied for the position? I understand what you're saying.
You're missing it. That's not even what I'm not even talking about.
You
I'm
talking
saying
about the
policy and
policies. I understand
Okay.
that, sir. I understand that, sir. I understand. I read the policy manual for the county.
Yes, sir.
But you can't change it. Every time something comes up, that's why you have an administrator to make a decision till he gets back to us.
No, exactly. You
every
just
day.
said it. You just said it.
I
Get
said
back
until
to
he
us.
gets back to us,
Get-
yeah.
And this did not get
So
back
when
to
did he
us.
make the change?
The meeting was held last
Just
week.
recent. Okay, just last week. So what? We're just meeting tonight.
Is it on the agenda tonight?
Why should it be?
Because the changes
You just
were
heard
made.
him say he had
Oh,
to
sir.
get back with the sheriff and some other people in the meeting that they had last week with the
Mr.
training.
Thompson,
Would you
The
want to bring something?
protocol. The protocol is this.
Why would you want to bring something to this body
The protocol
to
is this.
approve? I'm speaking, sir.
Yes, sir.
Why would you want to bring something to this body to approve before you have all the kinks worked out?
Okay.
It's not our job to go through and do all the planning.
Yeah,
That's why we hired the administrator.
Well, what's the protocol?
Protocol is we are in charge as far as policy development. I understand that.
Yes, sir.
Superintendent, I understand that.
I
You ain't got to
understand.
tell me.
I understand what you've been.
Okay. And but the thing about it is, let them finish working it out, and then bring it to us.
What I'm saying, Mr. Thompson, is that before it's sent to the employees, or given to the employees that these changes were being made, all that should have happened was the administrator tell us that we're getting ready to put this in place.
It sounds like planning to me. When you say
It's more than planning.
we had a meeting and we talked about it as a group,
It's more
and
than
we
planning.
getting back together.
It's more than planning. It's been, okay.
So you're saying it's already in concrete.
They've already had a meeting.
Were you part of the meeting?
I don't have to be part of the meeting.
Well, how
It's
would you
called
know what
information.
happened in the meeting?
It's called information.
It's not called information.
It's called information. It's called what?
Okay. All right. Okay.
You know what it's called.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
It's called what?
Okay.
Being
I'm gonna let-
informed?
Excuse me?
It's called being informed.
Okay.
Yeah, information is good to be informed, but you be informed correctly.
And how you know I wasn't?
Yeah. Okay. I guess.
How you know you were not?
Yeah. Okay. Each point has been made. Councilman Jinks.
No, I didn't want to say anything.
Okay. So.
Mr. Chairman, was the attorney gonna say something?
He was informing us to stick to the agenda.
Okay.
So we're still on the third reading, if I'm correct. Yes. Okay. So a motion has been made. No, a motion has not been made. So what is the pleasure of council? I make a motion. I make a motion.
That we approve the third reading of the ordinance to amend the F 2026 budget to reflect the first quarter budget change. I know we've had a lot of discussion on that, and I think it's been well explained about that. That didn't have anything to do with personnel. That's why I was upset.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and has been properly second. Any final discussion? Because we already had a detailed discussion already. So any final discussion? If none, all those who are in approval of the third reading of an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2026 budget to reflect the first quarter budget changes, show your approval by raising your right hand. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? We're now on item number 8.2, second reading of an ordinance This is the second reading of an ordinance adopting the Hampton County Airport Schedule of Rates and Charges and approving a standard airport hangar license use agreement, providing for administration and other matters related thereto. Anyone want to say anything about this?
Mr. Chairman and Council, this is second reading oh, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
Council, I would like to acknowledge Chris. Chris will be moving on to greater pastures. I think this will be your last council session with us, Chris.
Yes, sir.
I want to publicly thank Chris for all the hard work he's done
Yes.
in this administration, and we really appreciate you, Chris, and all the work you've done. Good luck.
That's very kind.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
Mr. Chief. Thank you. Well, while we're at it, thank you for putting up with me for 2+ years and giving me the pleasure and honor of serving the good people of Hampton County. You know, it's easy to get distracted in the age of social media, but one of the highlights of working with Mr. Yeomans has been learning from him. Even though I'm 10+ years his senior, I've been a student of his, and watching him display an extraordinary amount of patience and focus, which is, again, hard to stay focused in this day and age with so many distractions. So it's been a pleasure, Mr. Yeomans, and if there's anything I can do, I'm not going to be far away. I'm going to be in the neighborhood, and so I'm happy to help any way I can. I'm just a phone call away. So
Yeah.
thank you again, Mr. Yeomans, and Algie for your mentorship and friendship as well. So thank you.
Well, Chris, I appreciate the expertise that you have provided for the county
It's been my
since
pleasure.
your tenure here.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. So tonight is second reading of ordinance to adopt a new fee schedule for the airport hangar rates. This went through a months-long process. Our consultant did a hangar rate study, did some comparables, made some recommendations. We had several meetings with the Airport Commission. We went through iterations to update the existing lease, to update the fee changes. And the major highlight is that we haven't had a fee increase in the 4 years that they've been out there. And then, so this increases the rate from $275 to $285, a modest $10. But we also get an automatic 2% increase each year after that. And you know, they know the big hope is that there's lights out there in the next 18 months to 2 years. So all of that work is happening, but that's going to also help to continue to deliver a valuable product to the tenants. You know, you have a premium product out there now. It's only a few years old, but they are paying a premium for those rents. And the biggest, not really complaint, but the biggest sort of comment was, you know, without an instrument approach and lights to the airport, which is some of our neighboring airports offer, and their rents may be a little bit lower than ours. So it's really, really important over the next 18 months to 2 years to help that airport get to the next level that we deliver on those lights and that instrument approach. And I know our consultants will help us get there, and our airport commission, who's an enthusiastic advocate for the airport. So we can get there, but that's just going to cement the airport's position as an extraordinary asset for the county and the community. So the commission does recommend approval, and this is second reading. The public hearing and third reading is scheduled for November 17th.
Okay.
And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Yes. Any questions for Mr. Inglesi? Okay. Thank you, Chris. What is the pleasure of council?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept the second reading of the ordinance to adopt the Hampton County Airport schedule and rate changes.
A motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion has been properly second. Any discussion? If none, all those who are in approval of the second reading of an ordinance adopting the Hampton County Airport Schedule of Rates and Charges and approving a standard airport hangar license and use agreement, providing for administration and other matters related thereto, show your approval by raising your right hand. Anyone oppose? Anyone abstain? We're now at item number 8.3. We have no first reading of any ordinances. Item number 9, council briefing. 9.1, chairman update. I have none at this time. Councilman Love?
One. not going to go into details because I've been legally advised before I say what I'm about to say. So I did want a public, I did ask for a executive session because once I spoke to the administrator and it required some information, and I understood what he meant when he said it should have been something that discussed in executive session. I've had 22 meetings since I've been on this council, and I went back and looked at each one of them. 9 of them, we came before this council, and we amended the agenda to go into executive session. 5 of them was on personnel matters. So what I was asking for tonight was nothing that we have not commonly done. So I don't know why it was such an issue tonight to amend this agenda that we've had no problem amending in the past. And my concern was being the liaison for Public Works. I was seeking some information that I was not able to obtain for whatever was told at legal matters. And from the little information that I have received, and I've been legally advised to do this, and I want the public just to go on recording. I was legally advised to say this. I'm detaching myself for that decision that was made concerning Public Works. I'm not in agreement with it, and I want the record to reflect that.
Yeah. Let me just answer your question about what you felt that should have been on the agenda. First of all, there are 2 people who actually authorized to put the agenda together.
Mm-hmm.
That's the county administrator and myself.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When I heard about what could possibly be placed on the agenda at the 11th hour, which is today, I felt that this information was not considered an emergency item, and it could have easily been requested to be placed on the agenda last week when our county administrator, when our clerk to council was getting information to be placed on the agenda. And here it is on November the 3rd, and an item want to be placed on the agenda. And again, the county administrator as well as myself, we decide what goes on the agenda. You know, you can request, but we make the final decision as to what goes on the agenda. And this was not considered an emergency matter.
And the reason I didn't, and I know the time frame of when something should be placed on the agenda, I'm well aware of that. And I say it again, if I had known that, I would have had it put on the agenda. But once speaking to the county administrator through emails, that's when he informed me from his legal guidance that this merit being an executive session matter. That's why I asked that it be put in executive session.
Okay.
Had I known that prior to that, then of course I would have had it put on the agenda in time.
Okay. So
but that's okay.
Yeah. So as your chair, you feel as though you don't have to say anything to me.
Excuse me?
As your chair.
The reason I say that is because I've come here on 9 different occasions and stuff was added to the agenda prior to.
At the 11th hour.
Maybe 10th to 12th, I don't know what
Okay.
it was.
Okay.
But it's
Okay.
not the first time it ever
Okay.
happened.
Okay. Any other update or report that you have to give at this time?
No, I just responded to what you said.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Thompson.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank our new county treasurer and the finance team for the diligent work that they're doing and communicating together to make it possible for our county to get on the financial foot in the right direction. I just want to give them the accolades now because I think they're doing a good job in that direction. Thank you.
Councilman Williams.
I have none, Chair.
Okay. Councilman Jinks.
Yes, I wanted to thank Mr. Youngman. Who was the young man that helped us on Friday night? His name? New employee?
Mr. Jeffrey, he's a new employee with building.
I want to thank Mr. Jeffrey, Mr. Yeomans, and Ms. Orr for serving over 200 kids on Main Street with the trunk or treat. And I didn't walk around, and I don't know whatever else department had
Candy. Who else from the county? Everybody, thank you. Thank you for serving the kids. I didn't walk around. I had 2 kids there myself. I had to keep up with them.
Okay. Item number 9.3, county attorney's update.
Members, I sent a message out earlier. I think y'all, hope you all received it. I don't have any.
Okay. Clerk's update. Okay. We're now on item number 10, administrators report.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
I won't stay long. We have a brief presentation. Wanted to present it to you tonight. So tonight's presentation in regard to the capital improvement plan. Tonight marks a major step towards Hampton County presentation of capital improvement plan and a framework. It basically links our strategic vision, our adopted budget, and our fiscal policy into a disciplined, transparent roadmap for how we invest community dollars. I want to draw your attention first, before we kind of go through this, to the 5 goals that were identified and highlighted by council at 2 strategic planning sessions, my first 6 months on the job, and then this past year in June, July. Those goals center around the ones you see here. I won't read through them all for the sake of time, but one, most importantly, to improve the culture of what we do here and the business that we have here in the county. What does that mean for a capital improvement plan, right? So what we did was map how this capital improvement plan reflects back to those key components: optimizing resources for financial stability. It established a disciplined, ordinance-based approach, developing communication, quarterly reports, and all those key pieces. Improving the culture, supports workforce safety and professionalism through a county-assessed renewal modernization program, upgrading facilities, equipment, and technology. And this goes back to improving and documenting what the county needs are. These are the 33 of the 55 objectives that were identified by this administration in this county that we want to focus on and work on. What does that mean to this capital improvement plan? We map those back to the capital improvement plan as well. Enforces the policies establishing the budget ordinance. It's a 5-year project pipeline prioritizing roads, drainage, public safety, facilities, all those things that lead the county moving in the right direction in terms of infrastructure improvements. Give an example, we received a call from the state last week about potential funding to help the county with some infrastructure projects. So more to come on that, but it's important that we have a capital improvement plan to support such conversations. Why a capital improvement plan and why now? It goes back to the budget book. It's one of those things in the budget book, a wage and salary study, a capital improvement plan, and also the prioritization of a $2 pay increase across a county where 60% of the employees' salaries are below the poverty line. This also goes back to creating and pouring in some of the mills that we recycled. We did not increase the millage. We pulled some millage, we poured it back into a millage fund to create a capital improvement fund to push off on establishing a fund to fix some of the things that we need to do in the county. How the plan was built, right? Policy alignment, governance structure, project scoring, phase gating methodology, and risk management. So once we have this discussion, I kind of present it to you in this framework, the goal is that I will sit with my department heads and kind of walk them through it, and they'll massage this, and then we'll come back to you with a cleaner process. But again, this was our first pass at presenting it to you to let you know we are on pace with getting things done in the county and moving things forward. But what is a capital plan ecosystem? Okay, part of those dollars are related to infrastructure, roads, public safety, technology, modernization, innovations, economic development, and airport. The other aspect is the county asset renewal modernization. It is our recommendation that we fix what we have first. Nobody's coming to save us. We have to be better stewards of our dollars. So that starts with a program with a capital improvement framework, focusing on repairs, replacements, and modernizations. That's why we have a fleet management plan in place right now. More to come, but lays the groundwork. Change does not happen overnight. All of this is governed by 3 different policies: South Carolina Code, which says anything that constitutes a capital improvement plan when we get there requires 3 readings, a budget ordinance, which we've executed yearly, and a capital improvement committee. Vision and guiding commitments, 5 commitments: fiscal discipline, readiness and results, renewal, what we own, transparency, trust, people, and performance. Tie delivery success to staff accountability and training, and focusing on building a stronger, healthier county. The capital improvement governance structure, kind of laying out the roles. You have council, you approve the capital improvement plan. You have the county administrator who implements what you approve. You have CIRC committee, which consists of department heads, finance, procurement, all those key players on, really understanding what the county needs to move forward. They make the recommendations. Departments executes, public, GIS, and treasurer monitors and make sure we're doing what we said we were supposed to do. This gives you an example of a calendar, right? This is an example. How the projects move from idea to approval. Kickoff in September, kickoff meeting and training, followed with department submissions, financial validation, project scoring, administrative review, council adoption, implementation, and reporting. Those dates are just placeholders as examples to kind of give you the look and feel of the turnaround time of some of this stuff, but wanted to kind of show you that in terms of the approval process and who's responsible for it. Financial framework, again, where are you gonna get the money to improve the county's financial situation around buildings and such? 4 mills was allocated. That equates to about $230K. It's a good start, but we still have to grow it, right? Grants and intergovernmental funds, of course, potential debt revenue, hospitality accommodation tax, and public-private partnerships, which I kind of mentioned that we may have the potential to have to kind of enter into some of those partnerships in the future. Fiscal guardrails, policies around debt service ceiling, debt outstanding limits, fund balance, and restricted funds. All things that we are working from a finance standpoint to implement, and it's going to be common nature to have those things in place to govern how we manage the county's finances. Asset renewal. So what I did was I took everything we insured in the county. Okay, we insured buildings, we insure cars, and we insure heavy equipment, right? And so just give you an example, how we work through it is a total snapshot of assets in the county. We have about 220 different, vehicle equipment pieces valued at about 12 million. Average use of life is about 15, almost 16 years, right? So that's just looking at our insurance stuff and pulling those numbers, but I kind of wanted to show you some data and justification around some of these things. But you can see the useful life of some of these things, 15, 20 years. And definitely we need to, move on replacing, renovating, and mitigating a lot of the issues we have with equipment, buildings, and vehicles in the county. So how CARMP integrates within the capital improvement plan, it's us focusing on what we have now first and prioritizing those pieces. If you go back to that slide around the ecosystem, you spend the majority of your time focusing on what we have to improve those things. So you have the ecosystem that really reflects those things on the left, but that CARP is our focus on repair, replacing, and modernizing what we have. And just an example of some of those projects would look like HVAC controls, roof repairs, public works equipment replacements, buildings being addressed, the sheriff, right sizing his fleet to get all that he needs. Those are all things that fall within that pilot project, as an example. Implementation and reporting, first quarter, SIP launch. Second quarter, project mobilization. Quarter 3, mid-year review. Quarter 4, annual report. And, of course, a refresh heading into the new year. Some of the tools we hope to implement, a dashboard that will sit on county website, quarterly SIP reports, annual SIP reports, and audit tracker. And of course, department integration. We have our department heads, 5-year prioritization, along with KPIs and connecting us with budget books and departmental narratives. I'll pause there to go back to anything that you may have questions about. Again, this is a draft. The thought is that I will sit with department heads and walk them through the exercise to get their thoughts and feedback to drill down on this approach. And when we have a cleaner process, a cleaner plan, to bring it back for council for review and consideration. But again, this goes back to what's in the budget book, that this administration would take the 5 goals, map those to those 33 objectives. This is an important objective because I don't think we're going to get to a capital penny sales tax anytime soon. This is a means to prioritizing repairs in the county and also getting us in the line for industry to approach us, making sure we have dollars to support some of the projects that may come in the pipeline, but this is a step in that direction. And for context, this capital improvement plan was modeled after 2 counties here in South Carolina and 2 other counties in my past experience with working on development projects. So it wasn't pulled out of thin air.
Any comments for our county administrator?
I just want to ask one question. I want to make sure you got you have South Carolina Energy Department in your grant procedures as far as trying to get grants through them.
Yes, sir. That cost saving stuff. Mm-hmm. They focus on that. So yeah, absolutely. That is an important entity in that space as well.
I know we discussed that, so I want to make sure we take advantage of that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I know we have a lot of work to do, highlighted by tonight's discussion, but change is not easy. It takes time. And this administration is committed to doing the county's business and showing up every day and doing what you guys hired us to do.
Thank you, Mr. Humans.
I think it's a good plan, Mr. Chairman. It's a good starting point. Yep. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
We're now on item number 11, executive session. 11.1, the discussion of personnel matters as relate to the finance department. What is the pleasure of council?
Second.
Motion been made, has been properly second. Any discussion? If none, all those on approval that we go into executive session, show your approval by raising your right hand. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? We're now in executive session. Gentlemen, let's try to get back as early as possible so that we go and get started because it's getting kind of late.
We hope you will.